Hello and welcome. We're going to do a little talk about tower gardens, particularly for teachers. And we just are glad that you're here. I'm Lynn Henry, and
I'm Carroll, and just to echo that, thank y'all for joining us. And if you're live on Zoom or if you're watching the recording, anytime you have questions, just get back to the person who sent this to you, and we'll be happy to answer. So I wanted to start out with telling a story. Our youngest, who just turned 6, walked up to me a couple weeks ago, and she was eating something, and I was like, "What are you eating?" You know, you never know with little kids. And she was eating lettuce, and so I was like, "Where did you get this?" And she had picked it off our tower garden, and so I love that because she, watched the whole process. But now that it's there, she goes and helps herself, and she doesn't wash it. She just knows that she can go eat it anytime she wants. And so it's really been fun to see that part. I think kids, you just really, they can explore and, learn new things, learn what grows well and all that fun stuff. And I think what I found with our kids is, as far as growing new things that they wouldn't normally, before we had a garden, we also have a traditional garden. We have some raised beds also, but they have really expanded their palate. So if they grow it, I feel like it would be the same for all kids. If they grow it, they'll be able to enjoy it later on when they can harvest. And so I think at the same time, it is just engaging. And it's fun. It's a fun system. Y'all will see later. We'll go through the particulars of how it works. And so we like it because we put it together as a family. When we first got it, we got it for our anniversary last year. And as a family, we put it together. And so the kids were a part of it. And so that is another way you can incorporate it into your classroom. Is let's build it together. And so, you could have it set up at the beginning also, but that's just another part of it. I think that makes it very hands-on. They are able to pick the seeds. So as a class, the students can enjoy, okay, today, or, I'm going to grow lettuce for the next few months. And so they plant the seed, they will get the rock wool and be able to plant the seed themselves. They'll be able to watch it grow. And then after a few weeks of growth in the rock wool, they'll be able to place it in the actual tower garden. And so I think that's just a really great part for the kids to see the whole process. Not just, I think someone said it earlier, this showed up on my plate. How did it get there? So they get to see it from seed to table. And so I think that's just an important part. They're, taking a sense of ownership too. So, we'll go through at the end. There's different ways you can manage it in your classroom, and you can have a binder, and those kids can, you can have someone this week in charge of doing the weekly maintenance, which is very little. But it gives them a sense of ownership. And so they go and check off the box. Okay, I wiped down the tower garden today, or, I picked off a few dead leaves, or, just a little bit. I didn't get to have water added. And so those might be some things you can help them do, but then some things they can do on their own. And then you can go back and encourage them on, they're doing great leadership skills. We like to have a experimental plant. We like lettuce mostly and herbs, but this year we grew cantaloupe. And so it was interesting, and sugar snap peas. And so it was very interesting to see all of those things kind of go crazy around the bottom of our tower garden. And they were all over. We have ours in our office. And so it was all over the floor. And so that was just a fun way. Okay, this may not work right here for us, but we were able to take those out and we put those in our raised beds and we planted those in our raised beds and we, kind of talked about, hey, do y'all think these are going to make it? Like there's a 50-50 chance that they could not make it. Actually, the sugar snap peas did not make it, but the cantaloupe did. So it's kind of a process too of reality. Some things you can do well for farmers in the real world, and some do not. Some have, not as great seasons throughout the growing year. So I think it's just different things like that. And then I love that they were able to troubleshoot. Say your plants are looking, maybe not as green as they did at the beginning. Maybe you need to check the pH. And so you're able to go check the pH and add to it whatever to kind of troubleshoot. And we have all that material for you. And then obviously we would always be on call to help. But I just think that's a fun part of it too for us. So I think that's some of the aspects in our own home that we see the positives.
Yeah, and one of the things I've seen why teachers like it is because it can engage students that might not be as engaged in other things. They want to be more hands-on. Tower Garden is distributed through the Juice Plus company, which is fruits and vegetables in a capsule. So it has to do with health and making health accessible. But Juice Plus is headquartered in Memphis, and so they have partnered with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Memphis. And through that process, they built a culinary kitchen. And those children have learned both how to grow things, how to cut, cook, prepare. And they made salsa and pesto, and they've sold that in farmers markets. So they've even learned about business and being entrepreneurs. Now these would be older kids, but what they have found is that exposing them to just growing has produced 100% job placement for these kids when they age out at high school and they go into the culinary field. They work in kitchens or they've done things with plants. It's kind of different, takes them different ways. But the Tower Garden is easy. You plug it in, it waters itself, which I don't know if you on screen can hear, but it's watering itself right now. You can plug in grow lights. You can grow it outside. You can grow it. Mine is inside, so I have grow lights. So it's got, plants need water, fuel, nutrients, I should say, and light. And so it's got the grow lights, and those run on a timer too. So even if I'm out of town, it's watering, it's lighting itself, it's growing. And you don't really need to know how to be a gardener. In fact, I think the less OCD you are about it, the better it works. It doesn't want to be, and the better you work because you're not worrying about it. You can have it in the classroom. It has wheels, or it's on a dolly. You can put on dolly so it can move around. You can even take it from classroom to classroom. There's schools that do that. Some schools will have it like in the lobby or an atrium. Some will have it in a classroom. I have a special ed teacher in Atlanta who has one. She would go from classroom to classroom, and she had some severe kids. And what she would do is grow a lot of things that either had a feel or a smell, basil, even tomatoes smell, a lot of different herbs, and as well as arugula or taste kind of hot. And lettuce doesn't taste, that strong. So different things like that, using it even with some children that were nonverbal. And then you can garden right there in your classroom. And this particular teacher, the administrators in her school were not very excited about it. They kind of viewed it as a bother. But she was able to get a grant for it from Whole Foods. And so she had it up and running, and she was in an adjacent room, and the principal and some of the administrators came through showing the school to some people, and they went on and on about this wonderful garden. And, they didn't know that she could hear. And it was really a proud point for them once they saw it and knew that they, they saw the benefits of it. They really loved it. And I've always kind of laughed about that. But those are some of the things. The students also can get good nutrition. You can send that home if you want to, or you can have it in the classroom. I have gone into a 3rd grade classroom that has one here in Montgomery, and they have we've taken and made smoothies. And this was something I thought fascinating, and science people would think fascinating too, is we pick the produce and put some fruit into a smoothie, and some liquid in there. And as we turned it on, one of the kids asked the teacher, would this be an example of a solid to a liquid? And I just thought, she's watching this thing and thinking, we talked about this. And I was so impressed with that, because I've never thought of it one way or another. And there's a Facebook page that you can get on to ask questions about the Tower Garden. There's resources. So that's a lot about that. And it's as people get the palate for it, they do tend to eat. They want that stuff better. And the more, we all know, the more you're eating fresh vegetables, the healthier you're going to be. So you can see a change in that too. If you don't know Stephen Ritz, he is up in New York, and he's a teacher, and he has something called the Green Bronx machine. He's in the Bronx, and you can Google Stephen Ritz, and he has lots of different things. He's one of these ADHD kind of people, but he talks about the Tower Garden being grown, not flown. You didn't fly this in, you didn't truck it in, but you grew it yourself, and I just thought that was fun. So when you think about the food, nutrition, and learning is kind of this subject, it doesn't take any miles to get here. It's right there, a few steps for me. You can go straight from the tower to the table. You can do that in the classroom, tower to desk. The teacher here has also had like pizza day, and they had pizza and salad. There was a study at Ole Miss, which has a big agriculture department, and they did sort of best case scenario of ground dirt garden, and then they did the Tower Garden, and they found that the plants grow 3 times faster than the traditional garden, and the yield is average of 30% more. And the interesting thing is, I can plant lettuce and I can just eat off it, and it will continue to grow. And if I keep up with it before it bolts, I can just keep on eating it for months. It's crazy. And whereas if I were to be eating off in the ground, you just pull it up and eat it, and then plant something different. So it does keep going. And there are kids that can succeed at this that might not succeed sitting in their chair all the time. So that's fun. And then of course there's STEM and educational opportunities, with that, that are right there in your classroom.
That makes me think, I read something yesterday, and it said if kids are bouncing off the walls, maybe get rid of the walls. And so I kind of think that about the Tower Garden. A couple of things that we love, Lynn kind of already alluded to, was there's no soil involved, so you don't have to worry about weeds or any of that. And just the comparison between our traditional garden and this is just hands down so much simpler. I think Elizabeth on Zoom mentioned it earlier. It's just an easier way to grow. And for a classroom setting, you kind of want that, because it's not, you don't want to waste time on the other parts. I mean, yes, those are great. That's a great way to get kids involved. But this, to me, you use 2% less water than, 2% of the water than a normal traditional garden. And so you have lots of the nutrients is constantly being recycled, because as you'll see, we'll do a demonstration in a little while, but there's a pump in the reservoir where the water is. And when you add the nutrients to the water, it goes up through the middle and it rains down on the plants. So it's probably a lot of you have heard of hydroponics. This is an aeroponic system. And so it doesn't stay in the water all the time. It is sprinkles down on the plants. So we actually have another visitor coming in from our.
Yeah, we're just kind of talking already. Yeah, come on in.
Yeah, y'all come on.
Hello.
Good to see y'all. Y'all haven't seen. No, you're fine. So I like the convenience too. Part of the convenience is it's at eye level, so the kids are able to, see all that's going on when you're planting in the tower garden. A couple of things that another part of I like, and you don't have to worry about, is during the school year. School is from August to May or whenever you get out. And so your growing period is June, July, and August sometimes, especially down south here. But when you're inside tower gardening, you don't have to worry about those different times of year and different growing seasons for things. And so that's a really good aspect of it too. And if you're doing the inside tower garden, we had a bad storm last night. And so our outside garden got really beat up. And I probably will lose 2 to 3 plants. You don't have to worry about that with the inside garden because, climate controlled, a lot of the lettuce, Lynn was talking about bolting. I had to pull some romaine lettuce from a tower or from some raised beds that we do at another garden here in town. And because they had already started bolting because of the heat. But because it's in a controlled environment, you don't have to worry about that. So that's a really great aspect to, it fits into the classroom. If, say, you had a teacher who was going on maternity leave or for some reason had to be out, you can roll it because it's on a dolly, whichever. There's we'll talk about 2 different systems that we have here. You can roll it around to the different classrooms. So you don't have to be fixed in a certain area. And even in your classroom, you could change it up. And maybe, you had younger kids, they might get excited when they come in and be like, hey, where's the tower garden today? And try to change it up a little bit. So you have that unique part, and just rolling it down to the kitchen if you wanted to, or the lunchroom, if you wanted to incorporate it to, there was a tower garden talk I listened to a couple weeks ago, and it was talking about they had a school, and the school grew bok choy on their tower, and they had a party and they rolled it down to the lunchroom, and only 5%, less than 5% of the kids chose pizza that day. All the other kids chose the stir fry because that was part of what they grew. And so I just love that. So they're making healthy choices, and they're, learning about health, but also there's just so many different aspects to it that you can look at. So that's some of the great parts of it, and it's sustainable. Where like I said, you use as little as 2% water, and then it's a small space. There's a smaller home version that y'all will see in a minute, and then we have a larger flex version. And so the home version you could put in tuck it in a corner of your classroom and move it around if you needed to. And I mentioned the recycling of the water. And it's also a closed system, so you don't have to worry about pesticides or any kind of chemicals on your plants. Whereas a traditional garden, you could get runoff from other people's yards or, around your area if the, school sprays or whatever. So you don't have to worry about that in a closed system like this because it's just contained, especially if you're indoors. So, okay, so that's the end of this part. Just kind of our overview. We have a couple of different options. I put this together for it's actually a homeless shelter here in town. But we have, if you look at the tower garden, I'll send these to y'all on Zoom when we get off. But we have 3 different quotes, and it's for 1 tower, 2 towers or 3 towers, and it kind of makes a difference. If you're in the same school, you can save a little bit of money. Say you had 2 towers for one school, you would be able to share the nutrients. And so after you make that initial cost of the tower garden, the yearly cost is obviously a lot less. You're just doing seeds and you're needing your nutrients, and occasionally you'll need little baskets. You can recycle those. And then also the rock wool, you'll need those when you grow after the plant is done in its life cycle. So you'll need to, every time you plant a seed, you'll need to do that. So there's different scenarios here. And then as far as funding goes, do you have anything to add about
No, I
okay.
can go over that.
Yeah, would you?
Yeah. I listened to a webinar yesterday or the day before that was done by kidsgardening.org. I don't know if y'all familiar with that. I'm not even sure how I got the first email, but they were doing it, asking about funding for school gardens. And so I listened to that, and I have a recording of that if anybody wants it. But one of the things, because the question is, if you want one, how do you pay for it? And what we've done with the 1,500 for one garden is that includes a dolly, that includes, the minerals, the nutrients for like a year or more, and some more rock wool. And so it's like you really don't have much cost after that. But looking for local support, whether it's businesses that are near the school or things that relate, if you have kids that go there whose parents have some sort of a business, that's an option. Donations, community banks. Can't think of the other word for the bank, that there's another word besides community banks, but where everybody pays in, cooperative kind of thing. Those are options. And somebody said, if you go to one place and they say no, you go to their competitor and maybe they do it. And you could easily put bumper sticker or something that says, hey, this realtor donated this, or even you want to sit over here near the air conditioning.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's so hot out there. Yeah. And I don't know if this is somebody coming or if it's the mail lady.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of different options that you can explore. And I think it would be cool to even see the kids get involved with the fundraising part of it, and making that, like a project-based garden thing too.
Yeah. If you take the kids with you, it's hard for them to tell you no.
Yeah.
But you can do, there was one place where it's the mail lady, where the 100th day of school, they brought in 100 coins, and they just put it all together, and then they added that up. So somebody could bring in 100 pennies, somebody could bring in 100 quarters. It's accessible to whomever. So one school, they made and sold T-shirts, and raised, and it was all about the garden, and they found a place that would only charge them $5 for a T-shirt, and they charge 10 or whatever the case. Having a silent auction, if there's people who want to give things that aren't related to the school, whether it's somebody who works in a nail salon gives that, or those kind of things, and then you sell those. And restaurants, I know Moe's has done it before, because I've eaten there, when they're like, okay, everybody from whatever school come to Moe's and you eat, and then some percentage of the money goes. And I know that I was in, maybe it was Office Depot or something, and there was a sign about a school. Maybe it was on the receipt, and I thought, well, I didn't know about that. I would, say, do y'all schools, have you ever heard of that, where I know in Atlanta, Publix would give money.
Publix here does, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you just need I'm guessing that in your schools, you go in and say, tell all the parents, hey, sign up for this. So people, I spend a lot of money at Publix. That would.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody.
Yeah, government or civic organizations, the State Department of Agriculture, the County Extension Program, Rotary, Shriners, Kiwanis, local garden clubs, master gardeners. You kind of start thinking, who do I know? And then if you have, if you're going to look for one garden, 1,500, maybe somebody can't give all that, but could they give 500, 3 people give 500, or 6 people give 250, that kind of thing. If my math is right. And then I just put some different websites that I have run across on that webinar that were good. And then I put a bonus, an extra credit down at the bottom. The crayon project, or somebody had gotten free crayons from them. And then Bonnie Plants, which is right around here, has a program to give third graders a cabbage. Every third grader can get a cabbage.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And since we got a third grade teacher on Zoom and you're a third grade teacher, I read about that. But questions, and we're going to go into the cat tower garden and look at them. This is what it looks like when you start them. I don't know that you guys can see it.
Is
over there.
that the rock wool?
This is the rock wool. It's spun wool, and it comes where it's dry, and you just wet it, and then you put in the top the seeds and some little vermiculite. Yeah. So these actually are arugula, and I'll put them in. I'll put them in my garden probably today. And I have basil and have bib lettuce. And this is something I was thinking when you were talking. I don't think you can even have lettuce outside right now because it's so beastly hot. But we will see. I've got a ton of lettuce in there.
And when did you plant those?
I planted those exactly 1 week ago.
Okay.
And I would have, particularly the bib has gotten tall enough that I really would have put it in a couple of days ago, but I'm going to show it to y'all because it's a little straggly.
I wanted to make the point too, that it's important that, this is just not for this year's students. Like if you're getting a tower garden, it wouldn't be just for that year. These will last, like Lynn's had hers 10 years. And so the initial cost, we can help you find that. And then, you have that for the, several years. Because it's great. It's made of a great food grade plastic. And so they're really durable. So.
Yeah, and I'll just show you my basil, which takes just a little bit longer to grow. It's just very small, compared to the arugula. It's just wee little basil. So they do kind of come at different times, growing at different times. But if you'd like, we will go into the tower garden room and look
Okay,
at
I'm going to
that.
turn y'all off so y'all don't get dizzy.
Yeah. If you want to just stand right by the door where you get some air. There is a little air, but not much. We have the two different types, and if you want chairs, there's chairs in there, but depends on how hot you are. This is the rock wool. So when we say, and you just soak it, I soak it for about 30 minutes and then put my seeds in there.
Do you have to purchase it through?
Probably not, but it does fit.
It does. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, and some, when you order a tower garden, some comes with it, kind of a little kit and some seedlings.
Starter
And
kit.
so, yeah, exactly. And a little thing of minerals. What I suggest is that when people buy the tower garden, to go ahead and order, I think it's a gallon, and you do an A and a B. And if y'all are scientific and have good eyes, you can read, what's in that. And I showed it to somebody and they were like, oh, this is for the roots and this is for the leaves. That's probably a simplified way, but it has different options for what the plants need to grow. There's a seed if you want one. And this is the basket that Heather was talking about. And it will go just straight into, and then the rock wool just goes. So if you've ever been a gardener and planted, this is a lot easier. You don't have to clean your fingernails. So, and this is the flex, this is the home.
Can y'all see both of those?
This is the flex.
That's better.
That's
20
the flag.
gallon tank at the bottom. And I'll just give you on this because it kind of talks about the two different ones. The schools that I have them in have the flex, partly because the home is newer. And so they got them beforehand. And, you know, COVID kind of shut down everything for a while. They give,
So that comes the LED lights.
yeah, so they,
That does not.
no, but you can put them on top. Yeah, but yes, and you would just order the lights. If you wanted to grow it inside, you would order the lights and the dolly. Those are separate. And that came first, and then people wanted them a little bit smaller. And so they did make it where they put the wheels on the bottom, and they just went ahead and included the lights. If you were like, I really want that, but I really don't need the lights, you could buy it that way. But, and the other thing they added was this that tells you kind of where the water is. There's a float, so when it goes way down, then you need to water it. And it has a pump, you know, in the bottom, and it pumps up to the, right here, right there. And this is what it looks like. Looks like a colander. So the light, the pump comes up right there, kind of bubbles, it's a bubbler. And then it comes down, dripping down like rain would. And you saw that these are a little bit on an angle. And so the roots are getting the water and being watered, and it's on a timer, and it has a indoor or outdoor setting. And you get a little timer like that, and it has O for outside, I for inside, and it will either do it more time or less time, depending on if you're inside or outside. And then if you actually wanted to add a couple of things to this, you can just, you know, put that on there and add 2 more of these sides. And you can do it where it's like this, which is 4, or like the at the top of that, you can grow microgreens. I have chives or something like that. This one has that at the top. This one I just went ahead and shifted them out to have the 4 around the top. And I wish I could remember how long I've been growing this one, but I think about 6 weeks. So literally, certainly not 2 months. So the amount of production and I have been harvesting off it, not as much because I wanted to show it to y'all. That one, it's probably been going for, some of those plants have been on there for probably 6 months.
I remember when you planted this one, because we had just had our salad in a jar, not this past time, but the one before.
Yeah.
I think it just.
Yeah, so it's really not much over a month. It's just grown a lot. And I have the lights, they're on a timer, so mine come on about 7 in the morning and go off about 8:30. So depending on how long, you know, plants still need to sleep, but you can have them where they go, you know, 16 hours, 18 hours if you want it. It's just going to grow fast. A lot of people in Alaska in the summertime, their gardens go crazy because they have so much light. Just the winters they have to get through. I've grown a number of things on mine, but I found that kale and this is bib lettuce. This is leaf. Well, this is leaf lettuce. This is kale, Swiss chard, chives. Arugula. Got arugula here. My arugula has gotten to a point, I want to leave this on. This is what it looks like when it folds, where it just, you know, it may even flower. You know, at the top, it may even flower and making seeds to start again. Arugula is such a hot, you know, such an intense flavor anyway. It doesn't change that much when it's folded, and I just pick it and I put it into my smoothie. Lettuce might get more bitter when it bolts, and the thing is you just literally, you know, pull it out and you replant. So it's pretty easy. I've talked a lot. You put equal amounts of A and B. So you put A and swish it around, B, swish it around. You know, and I have just kind of a big jug that I will fill it up. If I'm going to start from scratch, I can actually pull the hose in and do that. So, but I just do a jug. You know, most classrooms have sinks, right? Most, I think more nowadays. I mean, Bear School did when I was at Bear School.
They do.
When I rode my bike to school, I had a sink in it. So what questions do y'all have? Zoom too, if y'all have unmute and ask questions.
Have you ever tried cilantro?
I have, and I didn't do real well with cilantro, but will you?
Mine's growing well.
Yes.
I have a lot.
Yeah, she was saying hers has done great. Spinach is a little harder. But I know Elizabeth has had a good job. You know, she's cracked the code on the spinach. I mean, nowadays it's just hot, but
The hardest thing about spinach is sprouting it, but I do find my mom has an indoor tower and she's over in Prattville. She's on in a greenhouse kind of back room like yours. And the spinach, it's probably 75 degrees out there. It's bolted. So spinach really it needs to be pretty cool for that to grow. I don't even have any anymore because it bolted in my house.
I really don't know what of this I could be growing outside right now.
Yeah.
The kale would be having problems because it's just
Lynn,
so intensely hot.
can you explain the bolting? We have a question.
Yes, bolting is when it really, and y'all jump in if you want, but it will typically send out some shoots or whatever, and it's going to the seed stage. So it's kind of tired of its life as it's known it, and it's ready to reproduce. And there are people who will wait till things seed and actually take those seeds and start again. And I did before when I cleaned out this tower, I had basil that had come from a plant and I just picked it and I took one of these. And I tore it in half and I put the sprig and I just wrapped it with a rubber band and put it in and it continued to grow because most herbs will do that. I had a friend that used to say, you really only have to buy an herb once. I haven't been that lucky, but, and I did put mint in here one time and it was just as crazy in here as it is outside and it began to come out the other holes. And I thought, I won't do that again.
Yeah.
But I did lavender one time and it did really good and gave it to a friend of mine that dries it and puts it in potpourri. So
Celery.
Plants.
fruiting, I have grown, you do need to pollinate. This is an old house and it has cracks and creaks. And so I feel like I have pollinators, but I have grown peppers in here, bell peppers. And what I've done is just gotten a Q-tip and kind of pull it out a little bit so it's wispy. And I'll go from flower to flower and pollinate it. And I have grown some great peppers.
So they don't.
You've killed one. I've done that too. But the good thing with this, which is less painful, is you just pull it out and start over. Or actually some kid his mom had a tower garden. So she had some holes that didn't have anything in it. And the kid figured out how to make 3D lid, I guess you'd call it. Because if you have the hole just open, then you'll be getting light in there. So you will grow algae. Because algae, that's what it needs. So you do cover up the holes. I've also, before I got sophisticated with this, I just went to Publix and got little shot glasses and put that in the hole.
I've seen them to cut tubes also, like pool noodles.
Yeah,
And like cut those and they fit in there somehow.
yeah. Or early on, I just covered it with aluminum foil. As time goes by, there is, like I said, a Facebook page where you can get on there and you can ask questions, or they have files. You can just say, how do I cover my hole? And so somebody will say, oh, look, here's this. That's why I found out about the 3D printing of those. And I just ordered them. They were not very much. So any other questions from the Zoom people or y'all?
So I see one like hole that didn't have like a thriving plant. Is that
Yes.
one that just didn't quite make it?
Right, yeah,
Okay.
it's a basil, and it's, you can look at it, it just looks sad.
Okay.
It looks pitiful. You know, it's there, but it's just, it's not a happy plant. And so I did grow another basil, I may put that in there, or might let it grow a little bit longer and then stick it in, or you can see, you know, even if you end up with, you know, a hole, it's okay, you can just cover it up and you've got, you know, I mean, you want to maximize, but it's okay if you have some that aren't. So, yeah, and that's a great, you know, not everything ends up happy. I know if you do something like strawberries, they have a different pH. So if you were gonna say, hey, I want some strawberries, it's like, go ahead and do a whole strawberry tower and get the pH where it needs to be. I have found in Montgomery that the water seems to be generally close enough. So I've never really had to do much with pH, but it does come with a plus and a minus and a little pH kit. And even in a classroom, if you didn't need to do anything with this, you would still have a good experiment.
Yeah.
And you could have people bring in water from home, you know, or you could get, you know, water and put lemon or something like that, you know. You still want it to be opaque to see, but I'll show you what comes with it, because I really think it's a great tool. You know, it's like that, and so the vial, just, you put the water in and you put a top on, you shake it, and then you just put it, you find out kind of what color it matches. And then it tells you if it's plus or minus, I mean, if it's acidic or alkaline. So, but it's been really fun, and I've really enjoyed, you know, the kids that I've seen. The third grade I go into a fair amount because it's very close to here. And, you know, I can remember some of the kids like, I don't eat salads, you know, and then you go in at the end of the year and they're, you know, they're eating salads. And I can remember that particular kid, I know his parents and Facebook friends with this mom. And so they were built, you know, they had a whole garden, their backyard was a whole garden, you know. So a kid eats, he eats vegetables now. So
I think that's a good point too, how we can come and help and be a part of the classroom, and, you know, whatever y'all need help with, help setting it up, help planting seeds. At the end of the year, the harvest party, like a salad party or a smoothie, you know, doing smoothies or something. So,
yeah. But I think we're about to cut off the Zoom. Any other questions y'all have? Okay, well, thanks. Thanks for joining us.
yes, thank y'all so much.
Yeah. You can cut it off. And this I have found, you know, particularly with the lettuce, that lasted for me a couple of years. Now, if you're, yeah, this is the